Thanks very much indeed. We're going to be talking about cash, or rather the lack of cash. A cup of coffee and newspaper on the way to work, a sandwich at lunchtime. We carry around a lot of cash to pay for all these transactions, or we have to whip out our bank card and use a chip and PIN. What would you say if you could pay for all these things by simply touching a card to a reader? From September, major banks, including HSBC and Halifax, will be issuing bank cards which allow you to do that. Will your pennies be quite as safe as if they were in your pocket? Well, Ron Del Novo is Managing Director of Bank Machine. He joins me now. Ron, just explain how this would work. Would it actually come from, would it be a top-up system, or would it actually come straight out of your account?
No, it would be a reissue of all debit cards in the country, basically. There are about 70 million debit cards, and all of them would be reissued with this facility. But
there would be some kind of limit on how much you could spend on each transaction?
Well, to start with, they're talking about £10, but already there are financial services conferences taking place where they're debating, can this be increased to perhaps £75 without the use of a PIN?
Now, there's obviously a security problem. A security problem? Is there a problem?
Well, it's a little bizarre, isn't it? Because the banks have spent years convincing us that we had to stop just handing our credit card over and signing, that it was desperately necessary to have PIN numbers to protect security. Now they're saying, well, we've done all of that, and we're going to go back and we're going to actually have cards where you don't need a PIN number. I can't believe the banks are doing this for our benefit. I mean, that would be a bit like Alonso and Hamilton exchanging eternity rings. I think they're doing it for their own benefit to increase their profits in the end.
There is an advantage there, obviously, over cash. I mean, it is more convenient, isn't it?
Not as far as we can see.
I mean, you have a vested interest. I mean, you do represent the bank machines which put cash into your hand.
This isn't a turkey's not voting for Christmas story. This is about the public, and that's me and you. We actually used cash to pay for about 70% of all transactions last year. Cash is what people like using. The banks don't like cash because they can't make so much money out of it. They want us to have more and more plastic cards. We've got about 170 million plastic cards in this country now. That's more than enough. The public have always said, no, we like cards, they have their place, but we want to rely on cash. But the banks don't like that because there's not as much profit in cash as cards.
What could the banks do to convince the public, do you think, that this might work?
Well, they could do the same as Ken Livingstone done with the Oyster card. They could make things more expensive if you use cash. So if people go into shops and find Mars bars are less expensive when you use a card, that would be the kind of discount that might appeal to people. But basically, I don't believe they're going to do that. And from the survey we've carried out, the public don't want to use these cards. Only 15% of people said that they were very likely to use these cards. And that, of course, is borne out by the statistic that most transactions are still made using cash.
Will they have the option to say no, do you think?
No, they will not have the option, and that's another thing. 40% of people said they would like to switch this facility off. But at the moment, there's no plans to give them that option. They'll have to have this facility.
OK, Ron Del Novo, thanks very much indeed.
Thanks, Jimmy.